Trump laughs in Acosta's face after gotcha scoop on POTUS goes horribly wrong. CNN's Jim Acosta just beclowned himself again. The whiny reporter thought he really had struck gold with a huge scoop that would embarrass President Donald Trump. Little Jim went on the record at CNN with his gotcha scoop, and that's when it all went horribly wrong. Now, the president is laughing hard in Acosta's face as it turns bright red from his epic failure. President Donald Trump doesn't come off like an arrogant academic. He's from Queens, New York, which is known for its aggressive style street speech which Trump uses to his advantage. The leftists, like all those who work at CNN, look down at the president. They see him as a fool who has no real education, and that's where they are so wrong. Just because he doesn't talk like Barack Obama, with his measured tone and politically correct talk via his teleprompter, doesn't mean he's not a smart guy. In fact, it's Trump's ability to entertain a crowd with his in-your-face banter that makes so many Americans love and relate to him. So when that idiot Jim Acosta thought he caught Trump making a huge mistake on a point in history, he went all in attempting to embarrass the president in front of the entire world. In fact, Acosta got so pumped up to get maximum exposure for his gotcha scoop, he took the time to write an entire article on the incident. So what was Acosta's big scoop proving that he is a hardcore investigative reporter? Well, according to Little Jim, Trump had a heated phone call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the president made a huge mistake. Acosta reports on CNN, President Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had a testy phone call on May 25 over new tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. One moment during the conversation in which Trump made an erroneous historical reference, sources familiar with the discussion told CNN. Acosta adds, Trudeau pressed Trump on how he could justify the tariffs as a national security issue. In response, Trump quipped to Trudeau, "Didn't you guys burn down the White House?" referring to the War of 1812. Scoop: when Trudeau pressed Trump on national security justification for tariffs on Ontario, Canada, Trump responded, "Didn't you guys burn down the WH? That was Britain during the War of 1812, tweets Acosta. The leftist CNN reporter thinks he has scored one on Trump. He goes on Twitter proudly posting his big shiny new CNN article, and it's getting maximum time on their broadcasts. Acosta is thinking to himself, how stupid is Trump to tell Trudeau that Canadians burned down the White House? Acosta goes on and on about Trump's huge history mistake. He writes, the problem with Trump's comments to Trudeau is that British troops burned down the White House during the War of 1812. Historians note the British attack on Washington was in retaliation for the American attack on York, Ontario, and territory that eventually became Canada, which was then a British colony. Even most Americans will think the War of 1812 was fought between the Americans and the British, and that's right. But a little known fact comes up when you dig deeper into the burning of the White House during the War of 1812, which oddly Canadians do know. It took Charles C.W. Cook, the editor of National Review, to point out to Acosta and the world, Trump is right. Cook tweeted, the joke is that Trump is correct here, and Acosta is wrong. Ouch, Jim's research sure sucks. Cook includes the link to an article from Smithsonian titled, Today We Celebrate the Time Canada Burned Down the White House. But there's more. You see, Canada wasn't in existence in 1812. They were part of the British territories. According to another article, the Canadian history of the War of 1812 highlighted how Canada had shared the burden of Imperial, British, defense. Missing is any mention of the supposed Canadian role in burning the White House. It's clear that for that generation of Canadian imperialists, the burning of the White House was not significant. Even after the leftists see this post correcting CNN, many of the useful idiots including Acosta refuse to believe it. Their collective thought process is, how could Donald Trump have known something like this? It can't be right. Twitter user Dan McLaughlin tweeted, Seems at Acosta is unaware that Canada was not independent of Britain in 1814. And Canadian schools still teach the burning of DC as retaliation for US burning Toronto. The Smithsonian article makes reference that Canadian school children actually learn about their role in burning the White House, and it's a point of pride. So, yes, Justin Trudeau would totally understand Trump's comment about Canada burning down the White House in response to the Canadian PM asking how the president could think they are a national security risk. Actually, Trump's joke is pretty darn funny. Americans would never see Canadians as a threat, which makes the president's actual knowledge of history very impressive, and it leaves Jim Acosta with egg on his face. So once again, President Trump is laughing in Acosta's face as it turns bright red over his epic failure.